So yeah, we got primarily Ellen and Oliver here tonight. So good to have you guys on board. So what I'm going to do basically, essentially I want to just look at Jesus as the model leader, because I guess that's why we do what we do as Pathfinders and as Christians and Seventh-day Adventists, but then also look at some fundamentals and principles of Christian leadership, then some leadership principles in general, and then we'll wrap it up from there. So I'm not going to make it too extended tonight. I have got some other resources I can share with you later. Yeah, that's basically where we'll look at. And if you want to pursue some of this later, you can look at also the Master Guide material content, which is available on fundamental leadership. There's a bit more detail in there. Some of that you can look at your own time and own pace. And then, but I thought I'd share some other ideas and principles, and then you can go exploring from there around leadership. So I guess the aim of this session is to understand what quality Christian Christ-centered leadership is, and then how to lead with influence. Because I guess when we look at what we do, as opposed to a leader in the business world or the commercial world, they are paid to lead, paid employees and others, where we, in our leadership roles, I guess, lead volunteers and others who choose to become part of our organisation, which takes on a whole different context and meaning, and also a different style and way of leading. So I guess that's some of the things I want to focus on tonight. One of my favourite leadership quotes of recent is this one, and Scott Commode has come to us via Fuller Youth Institute, where we've been doing some, I guess, what would we call it? Leadership development with our churches around growing together, growing young, which is a healthy church programming, healthy church ministry. And Scott has this well-known saying, which I absolutely love: leadership begins with, can anyone tell me what the response is other than Rose?
Oh, okay, I won't say anything.
You won't, Rose? Look, Rose, you know it. You tell me. You tell us.
It starts with it's a word that starts with L, and ends with listening. Listening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the way Scott brings this out, because there's leadership begins with listening. And when I look at, I guess, my leadership role, when I look at the leaders I've got to deal with, both up above me, beside, around, I guess probably more than anything that frustrates me is when leaders don't listen. And I guess that is also a lesson for me in particular in how I should function and operate in my role as youth director and in the various functions we oversee. And more so listening to Rose and Karsha as part of my team, listening to Michael as one of my DDs, listening to our other DDs, listening to all our Pathfinder directors, our club leaders, adventurer leaders, I guess right across our conference, listening to our people to understand what their needs are, how we can better serve them, and how we can better help them minister in their sphere and in their realm and in their context. So yeah, listening, leadership begins with listening. Okay, and now I want to move on to, I guess, Jesus as the model leader, because for me, all of us fail in leadership. All of us make mistakes. All of us let people down. All of us don't necessarily make the right choices around leadership at times. And therefore, I thought, what better place to begin than with Jesus? And in our Pathfinder resource material, there's a whole heap of information there, but I've sort of fleshed this out into a couple of slides, 2 or 3 slides to help us tonight, just to where we can perhaps focus our leadership, but also looking at Jesus and his leadership style and how we can better lead and also better serve. So I'll go through some of these very quickly. He showed love and acceptance to people, which is obvious throughout the whole Gospels. He affirmed people in their gifts, which was always encouraging. And I guess for me, that's important, to recognize when people have got gifts and leadership gifts, and to affirm them when that opportunity comes, particularly with young people as they're growing and developing in leadership, to also find ways of affirming them so that they can then continue to grow and blossom. He led his people into discipleship, which is another important one for us, which is one of the main reasons why we do Pathfinders and there's other ministries, because ultimately, yes, we are there for the fun, the outdoors activities, but ultimately we're there to point young people and our juniors and teens to Jesus and for him to be their Saviour and Lord, but also for them to become disciples as well. He gave people a sense of belonging, and that was very evident. And that's a very important element of Pathfinder ministry. So because we have such a diverse people group these days, making people feel welcome, making people feel they belong, give them a sense of belonging, and so that they feel that they have a safe place, a place that they can come and enjoy and be ministered to, and also to minister to others. Jesus was a great leader. He actually led through serving, and John 13 is a good chapter and reference to go to there as well, that he was continually serving and ministering to people and reaching out and modeling good service as well, particularly to his disciples, because I guess just like in our day and age, service isn't a primary mode of operation, particularly for leaders, and particularly in our commercial business world, although it is becoming more so, I think, which is good to see, particularly in the current generations. Jesus knew his scriptures well and through and thoroughly. And I guess for us as Christian leaders, we should know our scriptures well. We should love the scriptures. We should be modeling that to our Pathfinders and our other leaders, that we love the word, and that's become part of our modus operandi, to be in the word and constantly being nourished and spiritually fed from the word. He revealed and met people's needs, and I guess a good illustration of that one was the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. Now he revealed her. He revealed her weaknesses, but he didn't judge her or condemn her, but he met her needs. And look, she became a missionary almost immediately, and the influence over her people. Jesus was always concerned about others. He delegated responsibility, and particularly to his disciples, as he endeavored to model to them good leadership, and endeavoring for them to be empowered and equipped in their leadership roles. Finally, and a bit more about the personal life of Jesus, he showed incredible empathy. And I guess there's a number of stories in the Bible around this, particularly, I guess, when John the Baptist was beheaded, that really impacted Jesus in a big way. Because it was his cousin for a start. And Jesus departed and went to find solitude. But the people found him. Again, even when he was trying to get some time out to pray to his Father, I guess to grieve and mourn. And the scriptures tell us there in Matthew 14 that, okay, Jesus put himself aside even in that situation and began serving the people again. And sometimes as leaders, we have to be really stretched and stretched and stretched, even though we might not want to be in that time and moment. We might feel emotionally inadequate, or in other ways, we might be very tired and exhausted physically. But Jesus was a great model there in even in that instant of grief and loss, stepping up again and serving the people because he saw the immediate need in them. Another area of Jesus' life was around prayer. He poured out his heart for his disciples to his Father in prayer, praying for his team, praying for his disciples, that they would be one, that they would have a spirit of unity. And there's also other instances of when he went away and prayed all night in prayer, praying for his disciples, praying for God's leading and direction in his life. So there's some great examples from Jesus' life of ministry. And here in Ministry of Healing, we have a great example of how Ellen White unwraps Christ's method in how he related and dealt with people. It says, Christ's method alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Saviour mingled with men. That's an important key word. He mingled with when he hung out with people, I guess if we use a modern term. He saw the importance of relating to people in a relational sense, taking time to understand people, getting to know them, getting to know their needs, their ambitions, their hopes, their dreams, their wants. He's one who desired their good. He didn't have an ulterior motive, but he didn't have an agenda. He looked out for the good in others. And I guess as Pathfinder leaders and directors, we are there to look for the good in our Pathfinders, look for good in our junior counsellors, our other leaders, our volunteers, and how they can best serve our Pathfinder ministry. He showed his sympathy for them as well, understanding their situation and their needs. And at the moment, we can fully understand and empathise with this in lockdown number 6. And you should have seen the chat amongst some of us this afternoon go, oh, wasn't it, Rose? Not another lockdown. So
yeah, it was awful.
It was really tough. And sometimes it's good to be able to let people vent, to show their emotions, and to then show sympathy for them in their time of need. Because as Scott Commode says, leadership is first about listening. Leadership begins with listening. And from there, you can minister to their needs and then win their confidence as well. Because I guess in this day and age, trust is everything in our leadership. And I guess Oliver and Ellen, for you, and Michael as well, and all of us, if we can win people's trust and confidence, we'll have people who will be able to go the 2nd and 3rd mile for us in our ministry to our Pathfinders. And even sometimes when things get tough or difficult situations occur, when we have to probably do an extra hours, extra time, or go out of our way to do something crazy ridiculous, we know someone's got our back and our support in this ministry, and know that we're doing for the right reasons and for the right motives. But also, as the last part of this says, then he bade them follow me. So ultimately, Pathfinders is about discipleship, in pointing young people to Jesus, in ministering to them, and so that they'll become followers of Christ, and in turn help to lead others to Christ as well. Okay, I'll just pop out of there for the moment. stop sharing. And, oh, we've got some more other guys on board. Welcome, guys. And Alistair, Jeremy, you guys from Karam. So, I guess, Saluni, who's this?
Yep, that's me. We're part of Karam.
Part of Karam?
Yep.
Well, welcome, guys. Good to have you guys on board.
Hi, Barry.
And welcome to our workshop tonight. Okay, what I want to go to now is a bit of fun stuff. So look, we've looked at the life of Christ, looked at where leadership begins. Now I want to look at something, just a bit of fun for a minute. And where's this video? Okay. Oh, I've got to activate share sound, haven't I? Yes. Optimize for video clip. Right. Can you guys see that video there?
Yep.
All right. Now, I just treat this as a bit of fun, but there's some good principles and lessons in here for us to understand about leadership.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Okay. I hope you saw that was a bit of fun, that video. Now, I guess put in the chat or something, what were some of the ideas and thoughts you got out of that little video? Just for yourself, or just as principles of leadership, or even as followers?
Try and encourage everybody else to join in the fun.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a good point. Yeah. Yep. Followers are important. Yes. Rose says in the chat. Absolutely. Yes. Because look what happened with that first follower. He influenced all his friends and others to come on board. And the first few followers are key. Yep, that's true, Rose. And I guess one of the other key thoughts I saw there was, sometimes it takes courage to follow a nut, which I thought was one interesting idea out of that. Think of followers as equals. Yes, that's a very good thought, Ellen. Yeah. Did you see the way that leader affirmed the first follower when he first joined? When he first joined, he treated him as an equal, and then made him just feel a part of what he was doing. So that was affirming, and we'll come to more of that later as well in our workshop. So yeah, follow us, and I guess this is all about what we do, being as Christians too, and as Adventists. We often talk about this idea of following Christ or inviting people to follow Christ, and sometimes we've got to understand you've got to be a lone nut to be able to follow another leader. So what does it mean to be a Christian leader in our world? Because I guess in some quarters, leadership is frowned upon. In other quarters, and even some church circles, we see leadership as something that's treated with disdain, etc., etc. And something I want to share with you now, which I guess only came to me just recently. Christian leaders do not have followers, as one leader stated. He says, only Jesus has followers. And I go, you know what? That is a really interesting thought. So what is our role then as a Christian leader if Jesus is the only one who has followers? So, and the idea comes to us in this way. Christian leaders have people who are entrusted to their care. So in other words, we're actually invited to be stewards in having people entrusted to our care. There's three theological reasons or three biblical reasons given here for, I guess, reshaping what leadership is about from a Christian perspective and thinking of this idea of people entrusted to our care. So when you become, say, a junior counsellor or a Pathfinder director in Pathfinders, or a district director, or in our case, Rose as assistant youth director, or myself as youth director, God calls us to the position of people being entrusted to our care. So we're not there to lord it over people, but God gives us these people to help to point them towards Christ, point them towards faith, help them develop in their Christian walk, help them also develop in their leadership skills and other skills that will help them to be more effective disciples and disciple makers. So here's 3 points around this idea of Christian leadership. One, it says Christian leadership is emphasizes God's role as the one doing the entrusting. That's an interesting thought. So God is, I guess, over the whole ministry here. He's the one who is, I guess, ultimately in control, as we're looking at Christ as the head of the church and we are the body. It emphasizes also that we are stewards of people who already belong to God. So we're already there as in the leadership role, recognizing that each of us already belong to God. We are there to just help to minister and shape and direct and facilitate people on their journey towards God and growing further into faith, but also into leadership as well. And here's the last one, which is a key one. It says that the measure of good work is not my intentions, but is instead the effect my work has on the people entrusted to my care. So the measure of my work is this. The measure of my work as a youth director is the effect my work has on the people entrusted to my care. And the same for each of us in our Pathfinder leadership roles. What effect does my work have on those in my care as a Pathfinder leader? Have I got their best interests at heart? Have I got their faith journey, their faith relationship in Christ? Have I got their best interests at heart in pointing them towards Christ and growing in their faith and love for him? And I guess a key verse I want to share with you from there is 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 6. My job, here's Paul speaking, my job was to plant the seed. Apollos was called to water it, and any growth comes from God. So there's a great principle in our Christian leadership role. So our job as leaders is to plant and water so that then we create the fertile field, the fertile ministry, and God, and the increase comes from God in the ministry. So if we can keep those ideas and thoughts in mind in our leadership roles, that that will take, I guess, some of the angst out in how we effectively lead and what our ministry role is in serving our church, in our Pathfinder leaders and our juniors and those who come through in the Pathfinder ministry, or any ministry we serve within the church community. So the distinction is important because the work of Christian leadership is planting and watering. So yeah, a new thought for me just this week or the last couple of weeks in that respect, in considering my role as a leader. Okay, now let's move on to other areas and aspects of leadership. And I want to go back to our little slide program again and look at 3 areas of leadership that's featured in our Pathfinder resource material. Okay, present. So 3 areas of leadership that are, I guess, primary areas of leadership are shown as authoritarian style of leadership, laissez-faire, or democratic. So an authoritarian style of leadership was autocratic or dictatorial, which I don't really care for much. Laissez-faire is little or no supervision, sort of a permissive style, hands-off, anything goes style of leadership. Or the delegate to all the other leaders, do what you like, pretty much, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the other end of the spectrum is a democratic style of leadership, or it's probably more so known as a participative style of leadership these days, which is more a group-centered, it's more of a shared, functional, collaborative is another word, style of leadership. So I guess, and looking at some of the consequences of these styles of leadership, it says in relation to authoritarian leadership, consequences are that it will rarely listen, they'll rarely listen to or learn from others in an authoritarian style of leadership. Basically make all the decisions themselves and, their decision the right way. This is the way we're going to do it. And too bad. Another downside from this style of leadership is that it suppresses creativity, but it also can suppress, I guess, empowerment and ownership of those working with a team or a group as well. So those are some of the things we've got to look out for and watch for under authoritarian leadership. Laissez-faire leadership. What are some of the negative consequences there? Well, it can result in poor crisis management. In other words, when a crisis or something else comes, what do? And it can result in very poor response or very poor way of handling crisis management when crises do come. So that can be a real downside there for that style of leadership. Under a democratic style of leadership, a downside there is it can be a slower decision-making process, which can be really frustrating for some people. Sometimes might have a longer process of coming to a decision, which for those people who like to go bang, 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 just very quick decision makers and like real doers, action people, alpha people, I guess, they can become very frustrated with that style of leadership. It can also increase the potential for conflict because you're dialoguing and it can cause some frustrations. I guess if you're not listening well, and I guess going back to Scott Cormode's statement, the first lesson of leadership is listening. Leadership begins with listening. I guess if you take that frame of reference and that context and that way of operating, that can diminish some of these issues around areas of conflict in leadership. Okay, moving on. Here's an interesting wheel for you, just looking at, I guess, as a passing and aside, at looking at other areas of leadership. There's a coaching style of leadership, there's autocratic, laissez-faire, visionary leadership, transformational, transactional leadership, where you're negotiating around performance, a bureaucratic style of leadership. So there are other styles of leadership as well that can that come into play in different situations, and be interesting to just know what your style of leadership is as well, and that can come through, I guess, your upbringing, your background, your cultural backgrounds, even some learned behaviours, even leaders that you have been untutored under over years, particularly if you've been in a work situation for some time. But the leadership style I want to come to now is this one called key change leadership. And what I'll do, I'll put some notes in the chat later, a link to a Google Doc file where you can go and have a look at some of this material later, and also listen to a chapter of a book called Growing Young on key change leadership. And I guess as a department, as a minister in this conference, we are looking at this style as a more favoured role across all our ministries. So key chain leaders are acutely aware of the keys on their key chain, and these keys are in inverted commas. They can be real or imaginary keys. They're intentional about entrusting and empowering all generations, and get that term, all generations, including teenagers and young adults, with their own set of keys. So this is a role of a key chain leader. So a key chain leader can be at any part or any stage of an organisation, but also you as a leader can also put into practice key chain leadership at any part of an organisation. You do not have to necessarily be the key leader. You can be a leader at any stage or any level of an organisation and still put these principles into practice in your role and in your function as a leader. So what do some of these keys look like? These keys provide access to physical rooms. They can also be to church resources, significant decisions. They also become keys to strategic meetings and central roles or places of authority. So they don't not necessarily have to be a physical key or a physical building or a physical facility. They can be other ways of empowering or equipping. It can be a role or a function It can be short term, it can be long term, it can be for a moment, or it can be time, or it can just be an opportunity that comes along where you can say, hey, Johnny, will you go and do this for us now? Or you take charge for this activity or this event or this part of the exercise. These keys have the capabilities, the powers and access of leaders that carry the potential to empower young people, or to empower anyone, in fact. But I guess in this instance, we're looking at ways of empowering young people, and how can we do that as well. And I guess think of in your own instance, leaders in your situation that have done that for you, or perhaps haven't done that for you. Okay, so there's four kinds of key leadership in any organisation. We're looking here principally at churches and church organisations and non-profits. There's the keyless leaders, and these are often young people or those who are inexperienced in an organisation, and they may also represent some of our older congregants as well, or others who are older in organisation who may be new or just never been given any authority or any keys of experience. There's the key hoarding leaders. Now, these are the interesting ones. These are often the show ponies, the ones no one else can do things as well as them, and so no one else can get a chance to be entrusted with keys or responsibility or a task or a role, etc., etc., or even responsible for making a key decision. So these people love to hold the keys. Then there's the key loaning leaders, and we've all seen these too as well, I'm sure. These are the ones who love to give you the keys, but what do? They want it back, or they want it back almost before they've even given it out to you, or they tell you when they want it back. Now bring it back straight away. So minimal delegation of authority here. Key chain leaders, these are the ones we want to aspire to. They're aware of the keys they hold as a leader, and they're constantly opening doors for some while training and entrusting others as well. So this just is an ongoing process in their key leadership role. So in summary, key chain leaders model a posture of giving away access and authority, influence and responsibility. And how do people feel in an organisation like this? Well, if you think about your own position in say a church or an organisation, whether you work or at school or Pathfinders, think of ways that you've perhaps been given access, authority or influence or responsibility, and how that has made you feel. Okay, let's just stop there a minute. I want to do a bit of, I guess, back and forwards here. I want to, have we got access to our whiteboard? Oh, no, actually, we'll just do it in the chat. That'll be a better way. What I want you to do here is put in the chat a name of someone who you see as a good leader. Now, it can be someone who you know personally, someone who you aspire to, someone you read about in history or in life, or someone in society. Someone's put Stephen Erica. Love it. Yep, I've seen Stephen as a very good leader. In fact, he was one of our district directors up until about 2 or 3 years ago, and a very good leader. Someone's written in there, Jesus. Yeah. And I guess that's why I spent some time tonight in looking at Jesus, because ultimately he's the one I want us to reference back to in our life. Someone said, my sister. Saluni, what is it about your sister that you see her as good? Rose has put her church pastor Jinha. Oh, Wendy. Your sister, is Wendy your sister, Wendy Saluni? Yeah, I admire Wendy. I really admire Wendy's leadership. Yeah. Who did you put in, Ellen? Mentor. Do you want to expand on that a bit more, Ellen? Even verbally?
Yeah, there's my sub-school leader.
Your sub-school leader. Excellent.
Yeah, Mel.
Anonymous to everyone, Phil. Phil who? Phil and Phil. You. Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah. Anyone else we aspire to? I want to put in one of my favorite Bible characters is Joseph. He's a leader I admire in history and from the Bible. Now, what I want you to do, David, you're talking about King David there? Yep. That's a bold one, actually. I like that because David was a very good leader, even though he was human and made some very poor choices. Joshua, yep, I love Joshua. A great leader and ultimately the one who led the children of Israel into the promised land. What was it about Joshua that you admired? Or what is it about Joshua you admire? One thing that comes to mind, all right, I'll put it in the chat about Joshua. Is courage. Yep, never gave up on his hope in God. Absolutely. Yeah. Incredible faith. Moses and Aaron. Yeah. All very good responses. Jeremy Copycat. Auntie Offa. Offa Saluni, yes. She is a good leader, that lady. I admire her. And your mum. Okay, now I want to be bold and ask you as a group to put in the chat leaders who are poor leaders, bad leaders, leaders that you wouldn't want to follow. I don't want to dwell too much on this, but yeah, Adolf Hitler. Oh yeah, wow. You're thinking of Adolf also, Ellen? Yes, yep. Donald Trump. Okay, yep. He was certainly a very controversial leader in the last 4 years in the US. Some people loved him. A lot of people totally disliked him. Daniel Andrews for now. Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting one. Yes. But I must say, I do admire him in some respects because he has made some very tough decisions that have been unpopular. And sometimes leaders have to make decisions that are not always popular. Okay. thanks for that, guys. That's really valuable putting that in the chat. Very, very, very insightful and worthwhile to just reflect on some of those issues. All right, in closing, I just want to go to a couple of quick videos. Want to show this one first, actually. And I want you to pick out the key phrase in here, what Simon Sinek shares about leadership.
Leaders are so often so concerned about their status or their position in an organization, they actually forget their real job. And the real job of a leader is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in our charge. And I don't think people realize this, and I don't think people train for this. When we're junior, our only responsibility is to be good at our jobs. That's all we really have to do. And some people actually go get advanced educations so that they can be really good at their jobs, accountants or whatever, right? And you show up and you work hard, and the company will give us tons and tons of training how to do our jobs. They'll show us how to use the software. They'll send us away for a few days to get trained in whatever it is that we're doing for the company. And then they expect us to go be good at our jobs. And that's what we do. We work very hard. And if you're good at your job, they'll promote you. And at some point, you'll get promoted to a position where we're now responsible for the people who do the job we used to do, but nobody shows us how to do that. And that's why we get managers and not leaders. Because the reason our managers are micromanaging us is because they actually do know how to do the job better than us. That's what got them promoted. Really what we have to do is go through a transition. Some people make it quickly, some people make it slowly, and unfortunately some people will never make that transition at all. Which is we have to go through this transition of being responsible for the job and then turning into somebody who's now responsible for the people who are responsible for the job.
Okay, did you get that, guys? Loved what he said there. We are to take care of those in our charge. We're not to be in charge of them. We are to take care of those in our charge. And in our Pathfinder material, if you ever have a chance to look at the Pathfinder resource on our fundamentals of leadership, it talks there about how you can change some of your leadership styles in how you operate. And Simon talked about that there very carefully there too. He said, you know, and you've given a role, you know how to do it well, and then you're promoted into another role, and then you've got to actually transition from having the competency to be able to do that role into be able then transition into taking care of those underneath you, so that they then can take up the role of leading and developing, so that then you can be then overseeing them. And your role is more about taking care of those in your charge. So yeah, that was a really good key principle there that Simon shares in that little video. Taking care of those in your charge. And often we see that in every area of leadership, even in the church organization, where we think we're in charge of people, where we should really be taking care of those in our charge. Okay, we're just about to wrap this up. It's just on 8 o'clock, just a bit after. I want to go to another little video here. And just show you a couple of minutes here of another little video by Bob Davids. I'll start at about the 5-minute mark. Okay, let me just engage this and away we go. Just hang on, I'll just pick here some short questions. I'll grab these and put them in the chat. First, get out of there, put these in the chat. Have a look at some of these questions that Bob will look at here in this little short video. I'm not going to show all of it, just a couple of minutes of it. But if you've got time to look at this video later, it's very, very excellent and very well worth going through the whole way through. So just have a quick listen to this for a few minutes and then we'll wrap it up.
If I push that chain, which way will it go? And he would hear a lot of answers. The correct answer is, you really don't know. But he said that if I took the chain and I picked it up by the end and I pull the chain, which way will it go? The answer is, it will follow you. And there is the essence of leadership. If you push the people down deep inside, you really do not know which way they'll go or which way what they're really thinking. But if you can lead them and get them to follow you, then you have the skill that everybody should have, is to be a leader. I went to China, lived there for 13 years. I built a company, started with a handful of people, and we ended up with 8,000 people. We had to build a factory to house 8,000 people. On occasion, I would go to Guangzhou and walk around and inspect the site. I have a technical background, so I felt I had a little bit of expertise in construction. And one monsoon rainy afternoon, we're walking along by the foundation, and I look down in the ditch and I see 5 or 6 men working, and they're installing a sewer pipe. And they had a level. And I'm looking down and I see that they're making the pipes level. Well, I have enough technical background to know that a level pipe's not going to flow. And it's going to get buried under the foundation, so we're going to have lifetime problems because we'll never get to this to fix it. So I thought about telling them how to fix it, and then I realized I didn't speak Chinese. So I took off my shoes and I jumped in the trench. I know that a 1-inch pebble underneath one end of the level will be just about 2% grade. That's what we needed. So without saying a word, I grabbed the level, I took a rock and I held it, I went back 2 pipes, and I raised it up and I signaled for them to put some sand under the pipe, and we got it just right. And then I went to the next pipe, and then I did it again, and then on the 3rd pipe, I handed it to the men in the trench. And I had them hold the pebble under the level until I got it just right. Then I asked them to do one more, and they did. And then I got out of the trench, took my shoes, and went back to the hotel. That incident became viral in the company. I had no idea what was going to happen. But inside I was realizing what Bob Townsend had told me. If I had pushed them and I had yelled at them and told them what to do, I probably wouldn't know where they were going. But by grabbing the level and pulling them, showing them exactly what to do without saying a single word in a totally different culture, they listened. That incident went through the whole company, and they realized that is a symbol that I would jump in the trenches with them. The big boss would jump in the trench in the mud and pull them. I had no idea it was going to be so powerful, but it really paid off. There are some great leaders that have pulled a lot of people. My favorite is Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi united 2 religions, ended a more than 100-year colonial empire by motivating the British to leave. He did so in a peaceful manner, and basically he just stopped eating. That's powerful. Power comes when the people that you are leading give you their support. When that support comes to you, I call that like power. They offer you the power, and then they watch you. If you take that power and you deflect all of it back to them, then they give you more. And then if you give more back to them, the second wave, they give you even more. But if you start to take some of that power, they start giving you less. And those leaders that accept the power make a critical mistake, because now the power that's going to come and give them more and more and more power falters and goes away. And I can point out many leaders around the world, even today, that are falling because they took the power. They didn't give it back to the people they were leading.
Okay, guys, that was powerful to me. I don't know how you found it. Yeah, I'm not going to show the rest of it. Look, if you want to look at it later, actually, I'll grab the link and put it in the chat now on that one, and you can look at that anytime you want. It's only 12 minutes, so it's quite a short video as it is, but yeah, really some valuable lessons in that video, just all that he shared in those few short moments there. And I love that example that he shared about, you know, showing leadership by literally as the big boss hopping down in the pit with those men, couldn't speak a word of their language, but he showed them by sheer example, getting muddy and probably dirty at the same time, how to lay that pipe correctly. I thought that was a beautiful example right there of leadership. And I'm not surprised that that went viral throughout the company that he was leading at the time. Such a rare example of leadership. Okay. Any questions in closing before I close? Anything you want to know, anything that's triggered you from our short time together tonight about leadership? Okay. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my screen again. 2 more slides and that's it. I was in preparation for this assignment again, for this workshop, I was looking at one of my favorite books on youth ministry, Jesus-Centered Youth Ministry. And I actually put a quote up on Facebook today from it as well, because it just spoke to me so powerfully. And if I can leave anything with you, it's this quote: great strategies and tested principles for ministry are fine. And we can look at that in the context of Pathfinder ministry, all our plans, schemes, events we're trying to pull together, run. But I love the finish of this. It says they just cannot replace the intoxicating presence of Jesus. First and foremost, Pathfinder leaders, we're about Jesus in these ministries. And if we take Jesus away from the center of anything that we're doing, if he's never the center of all that we're doing, we've missed the point of what we're doing in ministry. No, it's, as it says there, we can have all the fabulous strategies and tested principles and plans and so on. We can all the scheming, but it can't replace that powerful, intoxicating presence of Jesus when he is the absolute center of our lives and our ministries. And that's what's going to really attract people to really the core of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. So in closing, qualities of leadership. And I've just put a few up here on the screen as we've reflected through our time together tonight. What were some of the qualities about Jesus' ministry? What would be some of the qualities that we're looking for in leadership that can help us to be more effective, to have a ministry that's going to be more powerful, as David talked about, a ministry that's going to be more transformational. And I guess some of the words I've come up with there tonight are empathy, being collaborative, being adaptive. Boy, is that a word that's for this season, being adaptive. Do we know what it's like at the moment, guys, to be adaptive, be constantly changing? And who knew even 6 hours ago that we're going to go into another lockdown? As Scott Commode says, leadership begins with listening. Are we a good listener? Are we prepared to take the time and take the effort to listen to someone, to really understand where someone's coming from and what their point of view or what they're endeavouring to say or bring to the table as one of our team? And of course, Christ-centered leadership. First and foremost, this should be part of our leadership as well. So Pathfinder leaders, potential leaders, that's our Fundamentals of Leadership workshop tonight. Any questions? Any other thoughts or any other ideas? Any other things you want to add to those qualities of leadership even that I can add to the list? Because I'd love to add to that list even. Are just some of the ones that I came up with in my preparation and planning for tonight. All right, so on that note, thank you for your attendance. Thank you for being part of our workshop tonight. I think, Michael, we're planning for yours towards, is it the end of September? Did I see an email or a chat coming around somewhere? Anyway, whenever that is, we'll have that out to you guys. You can tick this one off as part of your Master Guide Leadership Development. So well done for attending tonight, and hope that you've got one small learning out tonight that will help you in your leadership role, and whether you were a Pathfinder Director, Pathfinder District Director, a Junior Counsellor, or a up-and-coming Junior Counsellor. Whatever, may you just take something in the way there tonight that's going to help you to grow as a person, grow as an individual, but most of all to make a difference for the kingdom and also to make more disciples for Jesus. So let's pray and we'll end tonight's workshop. Father God, thank you for being with us tonight in our Pathfinder time together. Yeah, we're a bit bummed that we've gone into lockdown again, but we just know that you'll be with us no matter what. We thank you for your presence and your love continually in our lives. We know that we have got a great and wonderful God who loves us and cares for us intimately. And we just really value that we can come to you with our frustrations, our heartaches, our pains, whatever is bugging us at the time. We know that we've got someone we can share with and unload to all our burdens and cares. Thank you for everyone on our Fundamentals of Leadership workshop tonight. Pray that you'll bless them all. And I think in particular of Oliver as he plans to look to opening a Pathfinder club at Springvale Spanish again. Pray your hand will be over him and the team at Springvale Spanish. May you guide them in their leadership and their plans that will really bear fruit for your kingdom as they continue to minister to the young people there too. Thank you for all our others from Ellen in Geelong and our other guys from Carrum Downs, and bless us all together tonight, I pray. May you go with us now, I pray and ask in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen. Guys, thank you for everyone. Good night all. Thank you for your attendance and participation, and we'll see you around shortly. And yep, we'll have the date out to you definitely when Michael can be on board. And I know Michael's a very busy man, but we'll have that to you in due course so that we've got plenty of time to plan for that one. So good night all, and I'll stop this recording and
Yep.
see you again.
Bye guys, take care.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, hoo-hoo. Guys,
Goodbye.
Thank you, Phil.
have a good night.